We're back. We're cute. We're me. We're us. Hello, my big beautiful BBs. It's Meghan Tonjes. In honor of World Mental Health Day, we are talking about mental health. I want to give a shout out to this video sponsor, BetterHelp. If you are looking for licensed counseling using your computer, tablet, or mobile phone, BetterHelp is perfect for you. You will be matched with a counselor in 24 hours or less. You can also join group-in-our sessions every week where members can learn in groups directly from licensed counselors on multiple topics. BetterHelp costs about $65 per week, and financial aid is available for those who qualify. So if you're looking to continue your journey with therapy or start therapy for the first time, go to betterhelp.com/mamatonjes and get exactly the help that you're looking for. I was thinking about how I actually need to message back my therapist today. So it's World Mental Health Day. This is a great time to just reconnect, check in with you, how you're feeling. Also check in with your friends and your family, other people in your life that you care about, especially if you have the capacity to do so. BetterHelp asked me what I would love to talk about for World Mental Health Day, and I had an endless list, believe me. But something that I feel kind of personally responsible to talk about, especially as a musician, as an artist, is this kind of trope, this idea that we have that art is suffering. To create is to suffer. You find this a lot when it comes to musicians, artists, especially now when we're doing, YouTube creators, anyone that feels like, the best stuff that I make is when I'm at my lowest. The best stuff that I make is when I'm hurting. And I have some thoughts about this because I have absolutely been the person that has suffered from my art and probably suffered more than I should have. So I started making music and making YouTube videos when I was 19 years old. I basically went out, bought a guitar, spent 3 months over the summer just teaching myself chords, trying to get faster and better, writing songs, listening to music. At the time, it didn't hurt that I was going through one of my many painful crushes. I used to get these crushes that I was loyal with it, okay? I was a monogamous crusher. It's my wrestling name. I would become friends with someone, find them so attractive, and then for 4 years, that was all I saw. Like, there was one person in high school that maybe there were two people. There was one that I had a serious crush on, and then there was one that was an upperclassman that if it happened, wouldn't that be magical? But it's focused. Same thing in college, which is actually part of the reason why I started writing music and playing guitar, because I met a boy that played guitar and I was desperate to connect with him. And I thought, well, I like singing, so I'll learn how to play guitar. And I don't really know what the mindset was. Again, I was 19, so I think it was a very short plan that led to making out. It never led to making out, by the way. The execution was flawed, and something that I've learned in my 30s is that when someone likes you back, it doesn't have to be this torturous process, but that is another video for another day. So over the years, I have created many songs, a lot of them sad songs. I think it's really easy for people to connect with pain over happiness because we probably, on average, I don't know that if we necessarily experience more pain than we do happiness, but our focus can become very, for lack of a better term, focused on the stuff that hurts the most because that feels the most prevalent. And I think it's also sort of the easiest to bottle up, especially when it comes to art. But that might just be because of the bottles that we're used to using. Maybe there is time for an update. I have notably been someone who has said, oh, at least I got a story out of it. Oh, like that. Yeah, that's just me. That just happens to me. At least I got a song out of it. So on the surface level, this feels like a positive spin of an unfortunate situation. But when it goes unchecked, it actually becomes really dangerous because you get into a space where you start to feel like you're doomed or destined even to be in pain, to suffer. You can also start to internalize it as part of your personality. I'm just someone that this happens to. And for me, which I can only speak for myself, I found that the acceptance of this just happens to me and this is just par for the course has allowed me to stay in situations that weren't serving me for even longer. Because at the end of it all, I knew, well, at least I can make something out of this. Ugh. Oh, it's not fun. I think as we grow up, we have this desire to be wise, right? We want to learn the lessons to pass them on. But wisdom comes from the learning, not the suffering of a lesson, which I think is a very important distinction to make. Today I told someone that I keep feeling like I'm getting to the bottom of the onion, and then all of a sudden there's another layer. You start to think, well, I've gone through stuff that's really awful and I've managed to survive that. So therefore I've learned, and I won't go through that again. But inevitably what happens is you keep living the same story over and over again with just different faces and different names at different points in your life. But when you break it down and you start telling the story of like kind of these failed relationships or these family dynamics or these lost friendships, you start to see like, oh, if I took the names out of this, this would be the same story over and over and over and over again. And that's kind of boring. And I feel like I have more stories to tell than just that one. So I think what ends up happening is you start to live this story over and over and over again. And inevitably your friends are like, okay, well, you're in this every other day. I've given you all the advice I can give you. I don't know what else to do. Or you're going to therapy and you get tired of talking about the same thing over and over again. You're like, I don't want to... Haven't we done this story before? You have done this story before, but you're not paying attention. The work starts once you finish the story. However you can find healing, whatever that is, ultimately it starts with accountability, but also an exhaustion of what you've been doing and how it's working out. There are so many things that I am having to unlearn. There are so many things that served me at a time and helped me survive something. But, in other situations, when those things run rampant, you start kind of reliving the trauma and acting out in the same way. And it has slightly different effects. You're not really surviving anymore. You're kind of just lashing out, or you're actually harming yourself. You start to see things that feel a little too safe and feel a little too good and ultimately feel a little too boring, because that's not love how you've known it. You've known it in just this sort of all over the spectrum, up and down. I want you, but I can't have you, and we can be together, but we can't be together. And like, it's a distraction. Isn't that ultimately what it is? It's kind of a distraction from really like stopping yourself and saying, hey, why do I think this is okay for myself when I don't think that this would be okay for a friend of mine or someone that I care about? Like, what is the disconnect there? Why don't I trust that I can find something that feels good and doesn't hurt and also is interesting and exciting enough? I'm not saying that, oh, well, I don't feel anything here, so this must be the one, this must be the thing that I should do. It's a retraining of your intuition and your gut. And again, reconnecting to trusting yourself. But in order to trust yourself, you have to prove to yourself that you can be trusted first. This is really all these lessons in childhood that I wasn't paying attention to as an adult, having to reparent yourself. Here you go. If you're an artist, if you're someone that makes things, if you're someone that draws from your life experiences to create or to power through, the idea of not being propelled by like fear or rage or sadness is terrifying. Like, I was comfortable in being in pain because I thought that's what I had to give the world. I thought that that's what I deserved. I thought that that was the path to make something meaningful. And I don't want to discount the fact that, and as someone who's cried many times on YouTube and shared things, I actually think my talent is in sharing things in the moment and describing the room around me. And how I feel connected to other people helps me move through those things easier. But at times it's made me feel like, oh, I'm an authority on this. And I don't know if being an authority on devastation is as helpful as you'd imagine if you aren't counteracting it with also understanding the depth of joy. And if you're scared of feeling good because you only know how to feel bad, there's work to do. There's work to do. You don't lose the tie that you had to the emotions you felt. Like, I know that the further we get from something, we feel like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to access that. Like, I'm not gonna understand it. That's not a failure on your part. That's growth. It being harder to understand who you were in a situation and to relate to that is growing up. But also, don't imagine that you just somehow can't still empathize or reconnect to emotions that you had. It's just that as you continue to move and grow and go, you're going to experience those things in different ways on different levels. It's like a video game, right? You can't stay on the first level forever. You can go back to the first level and you can play it for fun and kicks and like, oh, I remember this and I know all the tricks. But don't be scared of like level 22 and the boss at the end, Because if you keep going for that, eventually you will learn all the codes and the tricks to breeze through that one as well. And let's be real, the music only gets better as the game goes on. I mean, ultimately it all comes down to trust. Self-trust, trust of your connection to whatever you believe brings you into art. Like for me, writing songs, I always felt like they just would happen. It was like everything lined up, and then all of a sudden I'd stay up one night and it would just kind of go through me, and when I woke up, there would be a song, there would be an idea. I don't need to fear losing that connection and in response end up damaging myself just to keep it. Like that connection will always find me. It just might not be in the ways that it's always found me. Trusting that taking care of myself and making sure that I can kind of get through my day and be open to receiving that, as opposed to just being in pain and occasionally getting a muffled message. That's a big step. It's a big step. I would love to know below in the comments, what are you afraid that you will lose by being happy? Take a minute, think about it, you know? Do, 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 do. The music's playing, you know? Just maybe write it in your notepad app and then come back later on and lay it out, break it down, give me the dissertation. If you're looking for further support, especially when it comes to going to therapy, finding a therapist, definitely recommend checking out BetterHelp. Again, betterhelp.com/Mama Tonjes. You find all the information down below, and I will leave you with that. Okay, you can find me Meghan Tonjes on most things, and I would appreciate if you said hi to your grandmas for me, because I got a place to go, I got people to touch you like your face very much, and I will see you soon. Bye.